Hello everybody. So today I'm going to show you how to refill your Copic markers, basically the easy way. There's no tools or anything needed, although you can get the, there's a refill booster, and nib tweezers, and a nib refill charger, and I have pictures of them right here in the book. I don't own any of those. I was actually going to buy them to show how to use them to you guys, but I don't use them. And honestly, I would find it more difficult using them. Plus, you have to clean them all. FYI, if you do get them to refill your markers, you have to clean them between uses with either the Copic Colorless Blender or rubbing alcohol, because the insides or the metal in that will pick up and stain with the Copic ink. So if you switch it to a different color, you're going to stain your markers. So that's just a little FYI. So I don't use any of those to refill my markers. All I need is markers themselves and the refills. A note about the refills, for those that don't know, a Copic ink refill holds about 25 cc's of ink. And that you need to know because through the entire bottle there's little notches, one for each cc, and you do need to pay attention to that when you're refilling your markers. Chow markers generally hold about 2 to 3 cc's of ink. When you're refilling them, do not put in more than 2 cc's no matter what, unless it's absolutely bone dry. You might be able to put more into it, but stick to about 2, because if you overfill it, you're going to have quite a mess on your hands. And then the sketch markers, you usually use about 2 to 3 cc's. It's best to stick at 2, and then if you feel like you can put more in after it's sat for a bit, you can put in another cc of ink. And then yes, if you do overfill them, the easiest way to remedy that, and you'll know because you'll go to open it and it'll splatter everywhere. Trust me, I've done it and ruined whatever it was I was coloring on. You know, you open your marker and it splatters and you've just got a nice little mess. The easiest way to remedy, and you'll know it'll be dripping, the cap will be full of ink, something, is to either take scrap cardstock or take a Kleenex or something and keep dabbing it until it's absorbed all that extra ink, and then you'll be good to go. So to refill, it doesn't matter which end you use. I've either got the super brush nib or the chisel end, and I can actually tell, like with this one, I can tell just by looking at it, like it is so dry, like the tip is starting to turn like almost white. So you can see that there. And then also a good way to test is just on scrap cardstock. Going like that, like you can see it's so streaky. So it is definitely time to refill, and same thing with this brown one. So all I'm going to do is all new refills come sealed. So you can either peel off or you can just cut between the lid and the container, but you don't need the sticker. The top screws off, and it always has, all the refills have the number and the name right on the lid. Just like so. So yeah, and then it's got a little nozzle end, and just out of habit I usually use the brush tip end, and all I do is gently start squeezing out the ink. And like I said, pay attention to the line of ink. This one's just below the 25 cc's. I don't want to go much further than the second line here, like 23 cc's when I'm refilling this marker, because otherwise then I'll know I filled it too much. Anyway, I turn it upright and then start dripping the ink onto the nib, and it just immediately gets absorbed. This is where those Copic tweezers can come in handy, because you can actually pull the nib right out and then refill the interior of the marker, but it's the same thing. It's just up to personal preference. I've never bothered to pull it out. I just don't really care. It works just as easy doing it this way. And then each time I take my time when I do it, and I make sure I can see where the ink pools before it gets absorbed into the base of the marker. So I just make sure the drop is absorbed before adding the next one, so that I'm not dripping marker ink everywhere. want, I can go to the other side, and you can do the exact same thing on the chisel end. It's the same thing. With the chisel, for some it might be easier to just drop the ink right onto the side of the chisel here, onto the wide side, and it gets right absorbed into the marker. It also helps to check periodically as you're refilling. Check the other end to make sure that the ink isn't pooling, because that's when you'll know you've overfilled it. Okay, so that one's filled. Now I'm going to let it sit horizontally for a little bit just to let all the ink fully saturate both ends, and then I'll double check it to make sure I didn't overfill it. So now you just put the lid back on. And then for the sketch markers, it's the exact same method. Doesn't matter which end. You pull off the sticker, unscrew the refill, and then start refilling the marker. Now with the sketch, again, you can go 2 to 3 cc's, but I would recommend staying at 2, and then if you need to add more, you can. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention is definitely work over a surface that's either easy to clean or you don't mind if it gets stained, because it's a good chance you're going to spill ink, or you know, the mark end's going to touch or something and you don't want to stain the surface. I'm just using one of the Tim Holtz, the non-stick craft mats. You can pick those up at Michael's, anywhere where that carries Tim Holtz products. These things are worth every penny. So yeah, it's very easy to clean up. As you can see, I dropped a bit of ink. You can try wiping it up, but it's going to smear. So you can either use rubbing alcohol to clean it up, or if you have one, use the colorless blender marker, the 0. So if you have one of those refills, and you can just dab a little bit of the ink onto a tissue like so. You don't need very much, and it will clean up the spill as if it didn't happen. It just picks it right up off. And you can also use that if you spill ink onto the marker itself. You can clean up the marker, the refill container, whatever. It cleans it up, no problem. So now that my chow markers had a chance to sit for a couple minutes, I just opened both ends to make sure the ink hasn't pooled, and it hasn't, so I haven't overfilled it, so it's good to go. So I hope that helped you guys, and I will talk to you all next time. Bye!